not going to delay any longer, we'll get started. Good afternoon. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Holly, better known around these parts as Ryan's little sister. On behalf of his family, I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for joining us here today. Your presence serves to comfort and support us through this difficult time, and also reassures us that Ryan made his mark on this world and will not be forgotten. As we enter into this time of sharing and reflection, my husband, Greg Joel, will say a prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today to celebrate the life of Ryan. We thank you for the time we shared with him, the love he gave us, and the memories we will forever cherish. Please bring comfort and peace to everyone grieving today. Give us strength to support one another and to honor Ryan's legacy by living with passion, kindness, and love. Amen.
We are here today to celebrate and honor Ryan, a loyal friend, devoted father, and the world's best grandpa. We come together not only in shared sorrow, but in deep gratitude for the incredible warmth he brought into our lives. We remember his wonderful sense of humor and his love of laughter, which so often brightened our days. We remember his passion for music, a soundtrack to so many good times, and his absolute joy in spending time with friends, family, and his beloved grandson. Though our hearts are heavy with the weight of this unexpected goodbye, we focus today on the immense gift of his presence. We are grateful for every story shared, every laugh we had together, and every memory that now becomes a treasure we hold dear. In this time of reflection, may we find comfort in each other's company and strengthen our collective memories. Let us hold him close in our hearts, knowing that while his journey here has ended, the love he gave so freely remains etched in all of us forever. Ryan was born on January 12, 1965, to our parents, Norman and Lynn Cooper of McCrory. He enjoyed 4 years as their only and most certainly adored child. Growing up in McCrory, literally straight down this street, was idyllic. Kids enjoyed freedom, friends, and the outdoors. Our family home was always open, and Ryan's friends were often around. It was not uncommon for large groups of kids to be biking around town, playing town-wide hide-and-seek, or paddling homemade rafts on overflowing ditches. Some of my earliest memories of Ryan are of him teaching me how to tie my shoes and tell time. He was patient and a good teacher. Through my early school years, I idolized Ryan. He was popular, athletic, and it seemed as if there was nothing he couldn't do and do well. He was the first, the famous Coop, with the bigger, more boisterous personality. Being his sibling meant that you might not live up to other people's expectations as you find your own path. But at the same time, if you said, Ryan Cooper's my older brother, you could probably get fries at Fong's and just put it on his tab. As with most siblings, our lives diverged at times. But we always stayed in touch and would then find ourselves close together again for various reasons and seasons. I think there were times in Ryan's life when he struggled, when he questioned himself, as many of us do. But when his son George was born, I feel like he knew he had done something right. This was obvious in the way he looked and smiled at his baby boy. Then Molly arrived. From the moment he delivered her in the living room of their house, he was committed to being her safe place, her guardian. George, Molly, and Jonah are going to share with us today. But before I hand over the microphone, I just want to say that Ryan lived for his kids and his grandson. He was super proud of the adults his children have become. As for Jonah, I assume that if you are here, you know the unbreakable bond they share. As a grandparent, Ryan hit it out of the park.
have a good turnout. Some of you know Ryan as a coworker, an uncle, a brother, a partner, or a friend. But I have the great honor of knowing Ryan as Dad. The kind of dad who not only taught us to fish, ride bikes, skate, and swim, but more importantly, showed us how to be kind and compassionate people. Dad was fun-loving, hardworking, resilient, and easygoing. Like water off a duck's back is a saying he often reminded me of, and an example he set throughout his life. Having a single dad for most of our childhoods meant George and I spent a lot of quality one-on-one time with our dad. He treasured his time with us as much as we did with him. I always looked forward to our weeks with Dad because I knew I would be treated to sunny afternoons at the park, dessert dates at Calgary's, backyard bonfires, basketball at the park, and watching The Simpsons together. That is, when there wasn't a football, golf, hockey, or baseball game on. Dad knew how to make ordinary days together feel special. As George and I grew, Dad remained a supportive and rock-solid figure in our lives. He was always wanting to lend an ear or a hand and offer encouragement through whatever we were facing. From sports games or dance performances to flat tires, grandpa duties, and moving days, he was always there. When George and Alethea bought their house, Dad was so proud. He eagerly picked out paint for them and was excited to help. So much so that Dad painted an entire room of their house without even consulting them on his colors. Much to Alethea's surprise, but not so much to me and George. That's just who Dad was. He always wanted to be useful. When my Bubba was diagnosed with ALS, my dad took time off work to be with her. But truthfully, he didn't really know how to stop working. After a visit with Dad, my Bubba texted me. He worked himself like crazy, did all kinds of things I hadn't thought of. He sure seems to have a lot of energy. When I was expecting my son, he excitedly helped prepare the nursery and eagerly awaited the arrival of his future best friend. When Jonah was born, my dad was absolutely enamored with him. He spent every minute of free time he could with that boy, rocking him to his favorite vinyl records, sharing his love of sports, and feeding him peanut butter straight from the jar. Really, just anything that Jonah wanted. As Jonah grew, my dad's love grew for him too. They were practically inseparable all the way to the end. Just last month, my dad was setting up a basketball hoop, filling bike tires, and stocking up on treats in preparation for his weekend visit and sleepover with his beloved grandson and me. That weekend, we shot hoops till dark, watched a movie with popcorn at the Outlook Theater, cooked together, and enjoyed donuts from the Outlook Bakery. The three of us filled in 420-themed coloring pages from One Eye's Weedery. For a contest, my dad was just sure he would win. It was the best last weekend I could have asked for with him, and it felt like being a kid again. As far as I know, he never did win that coloring contest, but he surely won the contest for World's Best Grandpa and Dad. We lost him so suddenly we didn't get a chance to talk about what he would have wanted for today. But being surrounded by friends and family, sharing stories and photos was his happy place. So I'm sure he would have loved this. I imagine he may have given a nod to Willie Nelson. When I get my wings and it's my time to fly, call my friends and tell them there's a party, come on by. Just roll me up and smoke me when I die. We didn't follow Willie's instructions exactly, but I think cremation is close enough. Looking around this room, I realized that we weren't the only people lucky enough to be loved by Ryan. Everyone has their own special stories of who he was, of laughs, drinks, and memories shared. This is what will carry me forward in the days ahead. The world is one less salt of the earth, special and vivacious person, and I was lucky enough to be his daughter. I love you, Dad. Thank you for everything.
Papa was not just my papa, but also my best friend. We did everything together, and he taught me everything. My favorite thing about Papa was that he never said no to me. From overflowing cups of whipped cream, talking, taking me for bike rides in the pouring rain. And my favorite memory, playing catch with the egg until it cracked on my head. When Papa moved to Outlook, I was worried I wouldn't see him as much, but he would always come to the city, pull me out of school, and take me skating. And for lunch, he couldn't even last a week without seeing me, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. I love you, Papa. I'll miss you forever.
Ryan was my father and best friend. I have so many fond memories with him, taking me fishing in the river close to our apartment, tobogganing down that same path towards the river in the winter, going swimming at the civic centers, and watching sporting events together are some of my favorite memories in my life spent with him. One particular game that I will never forget was watching the Toronto Raptors in Game 7 against the 76ers. He knew how much the Raptors meant to me, and even though he wasn't the biggest basketball fan, he became very invested in that playoff run we watched together. Before the game, I was emotional watching the pregame show. He reminded me that it was just a basketball game. I dried my tears, and thanks to him, we watched one of the greatest basketball games ever played. When it came to the dying seconds, and Kawhi hit the buzzer beater shot, heard around the world, bouncing around the rim 4 times before going in, we rejoiced and hugged while jumping up and down for what felt like an hour. We fucking did it! We fucking did it! He proclaimed. That was one of the happiest moments of my life, and I'm so glad he was there with me. He lit up any room he was in with his laughter and made everyone feel welcome and safe. He cared and was there when it mattered the most. Last year, we had such a great time coaching Jonah's Little League baseball team together. It was a profoundly beautiful and fun experience for all 3 of us Cooper boys. He was always just a phone call away and would help you out with anything, no matter how big of a problem or what time of the day. I'm proud of the man I have become today, and I contribute a lot of that towards the way Ryan raised me and instilled good values into me. He taught me to treat people with respect, be kind, and also how to have a good time. One of our favorite movies was The Iron Giant. Every time we watched it, we would shed tears of happiness when the robot said, "I'm Superman," while he sacrificed himself. While he sacrificed himself to save the town from the atomic bomb. I couldn't figure out how to end my speech, but Ryan was my Superman. I want to thank everyone for coming here today and celebrating his life and legacy. Cheers to my dad, Ryan.
It turns out that Ryan could, in fact, do almost anything. But I'm here to say that even he had his limits. For family functions, he was notoriously late, to the point where we would change the time just for Ryan and tell him a different time so that he would arrive when we were actually going to start. He was pretty smart though, because he caught on. He could not start and finish washing a sink full of dishes. He could not pass up a bargain, whether he had the money in his pocket or not. And as his colleagues at Small Steps quickly discovered, he couldn't actually finish one cup of coffee before making and starting another. Fortunately, he found someone who was willing to accept those flaws. He and Marilee have been through moves and jobs, joys and sorrows, only to grow stronger together. She would now like to share a few words.
Got my backpack here, in case I can't finish. Right from the start, Ryan and I realized that we were polar opposites, but we made it work. Our first date was November 25th, 2012 at Boston Pizza. He told me the reason he was late was because he spent 30 minutes looking for a shirt that wasn't too country. I had told him in previous conversations that I liked both music, but not country. He thought a country-looking shirt might be a deal breaker. One thing we did have in common was a love for Fort Vallarta. Some of the best memories are being with him on the beach, or trying all the different restaurants in the area. The first time we went, he was detained at the airport when we got back to Saskatoon for what seemed like hours. I was so scared that someone had slipped something into his suitcase, only to find out he had a warrant because of an unpaid parking ticket. Another one of Ryan's passions was music, and we would sit and listen to it in the evenings. He would play 2 songs, I would play 2 songs. He would play 2 songs, I'd play 1.5 songs. He'd play 2 songs, I'd play 1 song, until we were just listening to his music. He opened my mind to different genres. I still have John Prine and Freddie Smith on my playlist. Ryan always listened when I vented about work. He was incredibly supportive and valued what I did. There were sometimes when he voiced his concern about my work situation, but he did so out of love. even now when I'm at work. I will pick up the phone and tell him about my day. This may be something I never get over. I've been lost for the last month because he was my person, the one I ran to when I had something exciting to tell. Brian loved everyone and was quick to offer a drink and a chat, like the handyman of our neighbor who would stop over and have a beer halfway through his workday. There was always someone in our backyard visiting with him. After he passed, I was talking to one of his friends who said, Brian had so many friends, but he made each one feel like they were his best friend. Brian had a deep love for his family. He was a great dad and so proud of his children. He was always telling me stories of when the kids were little. Brian also loved my children, and for that I'll always be grateful. We loved when we could have all of our kids to our house for special occasions. It was always full of love and laughter. I think everyone here will agree that a common theme through all of this was his love for Jonah. Exactly a week before he passed, I was looking after Jonah and we FaceTimed Papa. He spoke to both of us with a love that I'd never seen before. After we hung up, Jonah told me that Papa was his best friend. Jonah has his very own guardian angel best friend living over him. I want to thank everyone who was here celebrating Ryan's life. I have no doubt he's smiling down. I'm going to leave you with 3 words that come to mind when I think of him. Live, laugh, and love.
Over the past few weeks, Regan and I have done a lot of reminiscing. We love our brother and feel we know him well, but sometimes struggle to find clear memories of just the 3 of us together. We laughed when we found the typical Disneyland family photo out in front of the park. No Ryan. He was off doing his own thing, a teenager when we were not. It has become clearer to us now. We did and did not grow up with Ryan, who grew up in our house, around us, but not really with us. Ryan grew up with many of you, his friends. Thus, it seems fitting that 2 of his friends, Blaine Forsberg and Brad McRae, also share some thoughts and memories today.
I'd like first to pass our appreciation to you, Molly, for Marilee, Regan, and you, Holly, along with the entire family for the privilege that Blaine and I will share this afternoon in just finding some of those memories that we will share with you. For those of you that don't know me well, my name is Brad McRae. I met Brian nearly 20 years ago when he was working for AGC Glass. My partner in crime today, Blaine Forsberg, will share many great stories following a near 60-year history with Ryan, who is his best friend and will be. It's a privilege to speak on behalf of the friend group here today, and I want to share that when I first met Ryan, that I had no idea that we would become such close friends. It became quickly obvious that he was going to be a big part of my life, and a big part of my family's life. This is how he operated. And he was exactly that for the next 2 decades. You just couldn't help yourself. We absolutely adored Ryan. Sometimes you just connect with people, and we connected. I expect that every single person in the room here today feels that exact same thing. We could sit for hours talking, shooting the shit. Sometimes about nothing, and that always seemed to be the best. And we didn't agree on everything. That's a surprise. We didn't agree on everything, and I like that. Although, typically my wife Jill would take Ryan's side and agree with Ryan, and that seldom turned out well for me. Over the years, Ryan and Jill developed a trusting and truly spiritual, connected relationship. They understood each other in a way that I never could. They just connected. Exactly how I'm sure Ryan connected with all of you here today individually. The one thing that Ryan and I did agree on was that sitting and debating anything from hockey, some basketball, George, along the way in years past, to politics and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. We really enjoyed a great game of golf when time allowed. And not everybody here might know this, but he was quietly and wickedly competitive. But the best part about him was that he always cheered for everybody else to also do their best, regardless of who you were or where you were on any given day. My first impressions of Ryan was a man who was an amazing father and a loyal friend. George and Molly, you were proof of that, what you've done here today with your lives. His relationship with Mary Lee and your love for Ryan, Mary Lee, and the friends that he's always surrounded by, many of you here today, speak to the quality of person, the quality of man that Ryan was. You just couldn't help but get drawn into that crazy laugh that he had. And the gift of being a grandfather changed everything for Ryan. Jonah, the boy, as he always called you, was the pride in all that circled his life over the last 8 years. Nothing else came ahead of his time with Jonah. Not a game of golf, not a day on a boat, not a Blue Jays or a Rough Riders game, or anything else. Jonah and all the fun activities they did together became Ryan's most important priority. His calendar got really full, and it was hard for his friends to book time with him, and it was the right thing he was doing. Some people are here to serve, and Ryan's purpose was to serve, to connect, and to be an amazing friend. He made you feel like the most important person in the world at that moment when you spent time together. He was your biggest cheerleader. He was always interested in you first, always, and never envious of another person's position in life. Ryan possessed the ultimate wealth, that of love, respect, and lifelong friendships. What a group of people he was surrounded by. He introduced me to some of the most amazing friends, many of you here today. Blaine, Warren, Dale, who I've had the privilege of getting to know a little bit better than some of the rest of you. What a crew that you are. What an amazing bunch of people that were just attracted for the same reasons all of us were to this man. And he knew how to pick, and he picked well. My ultimate role here today is also to support Blaine, and he support me. Ryan's closest and again lifelong friend, who will be happy to share nearly 60 years of memories. And I did vet the material, so there isn't too much stuff that we wouldn't share in public. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Good afternoon, everyone. I had the privilege to be a close friend for nearly 60 years. A lot of memories, and 60 years of trying to keep up with it. If you knew Coop, you probably felt like one of his closest friends too. That was definitely his gift. He had a remarkable way of making people feel seen and heard. If you knew him for 30 minutes or 30 years, it made you feel like you mattered. I thought what to say. The same word keeps coming back to me. Ryan was my first. It was full of firsts. He was always the first kid I met at Sunday school that I got a bit of a row with and actually didn't really like. Funny how life works, we became brothers. He had the first banana bike when we were trainer's wheels, winning easily at the McCrory Sports Day. The first bottle of Coke, a bit of adult luxury from the co-op store. He was the first young baseball player to throw a curveball in my world. And he had the first Farrah Fawcett full-length poster in his room. Oh, he does still have it. That was sexy before we knew what sexy was. He had the first movie night at the Lyric Theater. And the first hot girl to come over, who also became the first girlfriend. He had the first job. The first car, some 50-something Ford from some auction that he was driving around when he still had his learners. And he had the first real muscle car, the 73 Firebird, the first cassette deck that actually rocked. And later, he was the first true businessman of our crew, cruising around in that beloved Cutlass, looking at least in our minds, almost famous. The first dates, the first party, the first one of us to head off to the university. The only reason I actually went to the university because I had nothing else going. And my first roommate. If I'm honest, what a much I have and what I've achieved came from trying to keep up with him. He didn't need to lead, he just kind of set the pace because he embraced everything fully. And the rest of us kind of got swept along with him. And thank goodness. And then there was the summer, he somehow talked his way into the Besborough Hotel. For $5, they would let us use the outdoor pool and all the facilities. And those glorious afternoons, we strutted around like rich kids with our crowd of friends who we invited, passing the summer away with a cool one, a frisbee, an outdoor swim, and a hot steamer. Not a care in the world under our summer sun. Our records went back and forth, close to, sometimes permission, mostly not. We spent hours digging through second-hand shops, record stores, garage sales, always hunting for the next great find. Usually trying to beat each other to it, because the first one would be able to buy it. Often Ryan came home with something really cool that I never even saw. Like I said, we became roommates at the U of S. His mom, Lynn, had definite mixed feelings about it, and for good reason. Just coop being coop. And later, I shifted. I ended up staying crashing on his couch at the Kelsey Apartments. There were strict rules that you had to go to Kelsey. But somehow he got me in there, and I spent a few months on his couch figuring life out. No rent, no timeline, definitely no rules. Just being coop, opening his door, making space, making me feel like I was not imposing, giving me time and support to pursue my dreams. There was no scorekeeping other than when we played tennis and racquetball. We'd almost get into scraps. There wasn't a lot of formality with us. We shared everything and it was always fun. Music was definitely our greatest joy. We went to many, many concerts, more than I could count. Everyone meant a t-shirt, a record, usually both, and if one of us couldn't make it, the other either filmed it, recorded it, or had strict instructions for me to buy him a shirt. Truth be told, I bought a shirt before he even asks. My wife Joe knew exactly what I was up to. That's just how it worked. Because the coop life was shared, and really that sums him up. Like another friend said, he was generous to a fault, not just with things, but with his time, his energy, his attention, and his heart. If you needed help, he was there. If something was broken, somehow he could figure out a way to fix it. I figured he got that from his dad, that quiet confidence and practical ability to figure things out. Sometimes if you need something specific, you could actually do just that. At one point, I was actually selling art and running a business. I needed somebody to help. A dynamic salesman who showed up and he would stay for years. That was just Coop. He just didn't help out. He became part of your solution. And he helped everybody. Friends, neighbors, acquaintances, didn't matter. People were always first for Coop. He could have done anything he wanted. He was a top in school. He was a great salesman. He was gifted with people. He was able to connect with anybody, and he was able to build trust. He always had respect. He had the talent, the drive, and personality to do what he wanted. But instead of chasing these bigger opportunities, he stayed with his family. He looked after his kids as a single dad. He chose to be close to Joan and his mom. He wanted to be present for his family, and he showed up for his friends. That's who he was. Success mattered, but people mattered more. He had a way of making you feel that you mattered to him. And Coop cared a lot about me, but he cared about my family. He always wanted to know what they were doing, and he always stayed in touch. If they're important to me, they're important to him. Incredible taste in music, movies, furniture, antiques, character history, timeless value. He loved collecting things and meaningful memorabilia, things that had stories and memories. And I think he came back naturally from his mom. He was my first call for a movie. Joe and I watch a movie at night. I'd call Ryan, and he was always right. He was athletic, competitive, and fun. Baseball, hockey, but especially golf. Despite all our years together, we played a lot. I never really beat Ryan. He tried many times. He used to be the biggest cheerleader for me, but I just couldn't beat him. And then there's his photography. He had a remarkable gift for noticing moments worth keeping. And these weren't posed moments, these were real moments. When you saw the picture years later, you remembered exactly where you were and how you felt that moment. He'd capture a laugh, a gathering, a fleeting moment that didn't seem important at the time. But those pictures of me and my kids are precious now. So many of us have photos because he was there actually capturing it quietly, not making a big deal of it, and he would go get that film developed, and a lot of us lost our pictures over the years. He would preserve those pieces of our life so we would forget. And he noticed people with his busy life, job at work. He cared about people, and when you read on Facebook, that's exactly true. Everybody knew him. And somehow, despite how many people he knew, he made everybody feel special. He could meet someone once and make them know him forever. I got a lot of stories, but I won't tell them all. That word was simply who he was. Beyond friendship, he was a loving father, a devoted partner, a proud grandfather, and a great friend. So I want the family to know something. Coop was so proud of you, and he was deeply loved by us all. Not casually liked, not just known, but cared for. After 60 years of friendship, much of who I am is because of him, his example. The wonderful thing about Coop is people like that really don't leave us. They live in the stories we tell, and we have a lot of stories. In the photos we treasure, and he gave us a lot of photos. In the music we listen to, and we have a lot of albums and music. In the friends we call, the families we love, and the choices we make. One of our favorite bands was John Mellencamp, and there's a song called Small Town. And I thought a lot about that, because even when Coop moved to Calgary or Saskatoon, he still lived in McCrory. His world was always a small town. A place where people were first, friendship kept, and stories were shared. That was Coop. And if we all leave here just being a little bit more like Coop, I know I will, putting people first, saying yes to life, having fun, make others feel good, then part of him stays with us. We used to share a favorite movie. It's called Blade Runner. It feels good way to end to add a few words. Whenever the movie came up in our talks, I would make a famous quote. And without fail, Coop would jump in with his own version. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. And then he flashed that grin. Not because he chased fame or adventure, because he embraced life, collected experiences, stories, and people. After nearly 60 years together, I tell you some of my favorite memories begin with the words, "You won't believe what happened." Somehow Coop was always right in the middle of it. A grand story, making life a little more interesting. So it feels right to finish with words that fit him perfectly well from that Blade Runner movie. The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long, and you have burned so very brightly on. Thanks, Coop, for the laughs, memories, setting the pace. 60 years I had the joy to keep up with you, and I wouldn't change it for a second.
With an amazing lifetime testimonial. Before we invite anybody else who would like to come and speak, I'm happy to announce today that Blaine will be organizing with as much support as we can gather the Ryan Coop Classic Texas Scramble Memorial Golf Tournament. The first inaugural event will take place in Outlook on July the 24th. We look forward to gathering as many together that day. I know there's a lot of golfers that play golf with Ryan, and a lot of non-golfers that like to spend time with Ryan. So we will be there to organize and memorize Ryan at that event. Thank you for organizing. If there's anybody that would like to come and say anything else for the day, now is the time that we will support you with that. Barry?
Hi, everybody. My name is Barry Barker. I come all the way from Hills, BC, dragging. I'm really old and tired today, but I just couldn't not come. What these guys are saying is such a truth. And I have two little stories I just want to tell you that was really characteristic of my experience with Ryan Cooper. In 2008, in July, I had a heart attack. I was in Edmonton working on a show. And they took me to the hospital, put in 3 stents, and put me in ICU. And when I woke up the next morning, Cooper was sitting beside my bed. He just knew that there was a need, and he came because he was my friend. I don't know how you find friends like that, but he was great. And the other one was when my partner Donna had our first son, Robert. She was a bit upset and wanted a little bit of time to herself. And so she got this apartment down by Kinsman Park. And Ryan would go every single day to make sure that it had what they needed. It's my job. But he was there first most of the time. Because he was always just really concerned that everybody got what they needed. So at work, we worked together, we laughed so hard, my God. I'll never forget those days. It was such fun to work with him. And here on the other hand, we'll be taking care of this little guy until everybody was ready to come home. It was pretty fantastic. And the times when you guys came out with him to our place in Hills, man, it was really, really good. That's pretty much what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Good afternoon. My name is Dean Corbett. I was Ryan's principal and his baseball coach. First of all, let me express my sincerest condolences to the family. The Cooper family of Norman and Lynn and children were an integral part of McCrory for many years. They were active in almost every community and board as well as village council. Many people tell us that parents should pass before their children. I believe that teachers and coaches should also pass before their students and players. Unfortunately, this doesn't always happen. Unfortunately, life often throws curves and knuckleballs at us. Coop would like that I use those words because he was a very, very good baseball player. The first memory of Ryan was when there was a knock on the door at the teacherage where we were living shortly after just returning from teaching in Alberta. Ryan and Oren were at the door and asked Belmont if Mr. Corbett could come out and play catch. Of course they did. Another was when the baseball season ended, I presented Ryan with a trophy that would recognize his baseball prowess that year. I don't know if he still has it or not. Probably not. I'm sure. Ryan has been on my mind for many days. I've been rolling lentils and peas out on our farm, and it gave me a lot of time to reflect. Number one, I reflected on the heat, because there's no AC in that old tractor. And I also reflected on some of the memories of Ryan and of the Cooper family here in McCrory. So, Ryan and I go back a long time, so I'm trying to think of some things, some words that kind of describe him in my mind. And the word lots came to my mind over and over again, L-O-T-S, lots. I'm not sure where that came from. Ryan had lots of energy, lots of friends, lots of sincerity, lots of smiles, very, always saw him smile. Lots of love, lots of stories, lots of empathy, and lots of kindness. When you hear the word lots from here on, think of Ryan. Unfortunately, the word can also be used that we don't have lots of time. And that was pretty evident what happened just a few weeks ago. Ryan loved his hometown of McCrory, and he loved its people in our small town. That love was reciprocal. Rest in peace.
If there's anybody else that would like to come and speak?
Thank you. I'm Lorna Congregate, and I'm Ryan's sister-in-law. And I have a really funny story from when New Year's Eve spent up at the cabin at Waka. The kids were all small. My two children, my third wasn't born yet, and then George and Molly, and Andrea, and myself, and Ryan and Trevor went up to the cabin. And we bought some fireworks from Czar Novelty. And we took them up there to the cabin, and we were having a really nice family time. We went skating on the lake and did all these really nice things in the winter like you do in Saskatchewan. And then it was getting dark, and the kids were small, so we tried to do it a little before midnight. And so Trevor and Ryan went out, and they lined the fireworks up in the snow. And Andrew and I were like, we opened the window and we yelled down, "Is there any instructions on how close together they should be?" and Ryan, we know what we're doing. So we were all lined up looking out the window, and then they lit the first one off, and it was the best 20 seconds we ever saw. They all went up. The first one, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth, and so on. But it was a really great memory I have that year, and I'm going to miss your dad a lot.
Anybody else that would like to share a memory?
So we would now like to share a video tribute with all of you. It's going to be on that screen over there. Andrew's going to say something first.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrea. I'm George Molly's mother. And I just wanted to share a story that kind of, for me, reflects a lot about Ryan and his character. When I was pregnant with Molly, I was planning to have a home birth. And Ryan was really not so much on board with that plan, but me being who I am, just get my way. And I went along with it. And the day that I went into labor with Molly, Ryan didn't want to believe me because he said, oh, I've heard this before. Even the first time when we had George together, we had some false labor. And anyway, he didn't believe me. And he said, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go to work just for the morning. And he phoned his boss, Arnie, and told him, I think Andrea thinks she's in labor, but I'm going to come to work. And thankfully, Arnie, his boss at the time, said, no, Ryan, I think you better stay home. And it was a really good thing that he did, because Ryan ended up having to deliver Molly himself, because Molly just came a lot quicker than we were expecting. But, you know, he just, as much as he didn't want to talk about that we have to bake sheets in the oven, I don't want to hear that. I'm just going to be there to take pictures. But Ryan is just the kind of guy that in the moment, he knows exactly what to do. And he knows how to take care of the situation. And he very calmly was able to deliver Molly. And a cute little side note on that, George was just 3 years old at the time, and he wasn't supposed to be there for the birth. As Molly was being born, George made a little path through the bedroom to the bathroom and says, I'm just going to go and wash the germs off my hands. And our good friend Ann Parker was the first to arrive on the scene, and first thing we said was, go check on George. Anyway, Ryan's really going to be missed a lot, and I'm really grateful that he's the one that was the dad of the kids. He was the best father, and he's really going to be missed, so thank you all for being here.
thought I turned that off. I guess not. This brings our actual program to a close. In a few minutes, we wish to invite you all to stay for luncheon and share stories. And I'll pull the I'm Ryan's little sister card and recurring. And could you please quickly transform this place to have tables with chairs around it? Thank you. In closing, we leave here today with heavy hearts. But also with lives that are much richer for having no Ryan. Okay, we're going to honor him by stopping crying, keeping the music playing and the laughter going. As you go back to your own lives, take a piece of his big heart with you. Give love freely. Listen to the songs that he loves and cherish every moment that you have with your families. Thank you all again for coming, especially in the heat.